Day trading is a tough business for sure. It's a mental game, right? It's how well you can control your emotions. It all boils down to how well you can follow your trading plan. If you're a really disciplined person, you can learn to day trade. And I would say that's probably a more reliable way to day trade or to trade for a living.
All right, everyone, sitting down today with Brian Pezim from VWAP. Looking forward to talk about trading, his background, of course, and a bit of tips on how he's trading these days. So, Brian, welcome to the podcast. Good to have you here, and look forward to talk trading with you.
Yeah, looking forward to talking trading, as always.
Awesome. So, give me a bit of context about kind of how you trade these days and what you focus on.
What I'm trading these days, well, basically, I cover the entire gamut of trading, manage my family's accounts. And those are more, I would call them position trading, longer term holds, some stable stuff. I also do a fair amount of swing trading. So that's looking at opportunities that are, maybe from one day from an overnight hold to, could be weeks or even months. And and then of course active in the day trading room with bearable traders, usually doing the open with Andrew, and that's always fun as well. So I'm doing pretty much three different types of trading that you would associate with traders.
I know you started trading at a very young age, but walk me through how that was, kind of that first experience of trading and how you evolved from there.
Well, it's great. I'm glad you asked that question. It's a hilarious story, actually. So I'm going to date myself here seriously, but when I was a young boy, my dad he would come home from work, and we'd have dinner, and then he'd go to the dining room table, and at that point, I know probably a lot of your members don't even remember this, but there was a time when there was no internet, so you got your stock prices from the newspaper, and the funny part about that was, of course, is the newspaper was like a day old, so when you came home and looked at the newspaper, you weren't even actually looking at what the prices closed at that day. You were looking at the closing prices from yesterday. But it always really got me interested in trading. And actually, I brought this along here just to show your members here. This is the very first share that I owned. It's called. It's actually just a photocopy. I had to turn it in to the company when they started doing dividend reinvestments. But it's the Bell Telephone Company. I bought that share, or at least my dad bought that share for me on November 10th, 1967. And I was not a teenager yet. So, and here's the funny part of the closing out this story, is I actually still own those shares. So, in the old days, I would get a check in the mail, a dividend check. It would be like for 2 cents. So I'd take it down to the bank and put the 2 cents in my account, which was, hilarious. And the tellers would just look at me like, okay. But, we got involved in this dividend reinvestment program. So I stopped getting the 2 cent checks. And now I still have the shares. There's like 75 shares now in this account. So, it's probably my first and my longest hold ever. So that's how, and that's how I kind of got interested in stock trading. And again, I was like 12 years old at that time. So there's a lot of sort of connections along the way. I moved out west. I met a broker through another organization called Toastmasters. I think he was just there to meet potential clients, but he started getting me involved in IPOs, like pre-IPO financings. So I'd get 5,000 shares of a stock that wasn't trading yet at like 50 cents. It would open up on an IPO at buck 20. I'd get out and we move on to the next one. So that really, sparked my interest further as I got a little bit older here. And I traded through the .com bubble, made lots of money, lost lots of money. So it was an interesting time, and it was a very educational experience, let's call it that. So, and so I've been trading actively ever since.
when did you sort of become profitable? Was there a time where you could pinpoint that by that time you got like some good profitability in the market?
Yeah, I mean, my journey has been, it's been. I would say it's been a little up and down. There, with lots of learnings along the way. The .com bubble. Uh, when we started trading, the day trading was very new. If one of the best pickup lines you had in a bar was you'd tell a girl you were a day trader. They thought you were like, oh man, he must have a lot of money and must be really successful. So, day trading was interesting. It taught me a lot about risk and managing risk, because I think at that point, uh, I don't think anybody was thinking about managing risk. It was the Wild West. Everybody's buying stock and thinking that the party's never going to end, and that's what caught me the dot com era. So fortunately, I didn't end up losing money. I just gave back everything I made. So that was kind of one big learning experience, and still think about that today. I think that still gives me a little bit of a healthy fear, I guess, of giving back everything that I've gained.
If you are enjoying this interview so far, then I think you'll like this one over here. I've been working on this book for a long time called Prop Trading Secrets. It's finally out. You can get it in your favorite bookstore or on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, of course. And this book is really about interviewing traders who are successful in either trading for prop firms or managing their own private fund. We talk about their background, what makes them successful, the things they went through, struggles they had to go through to become good traders now, and a lot of the good wisdom that you might not necessarily hear about, but it's all into a condensed version over here. You can read through these stories, get inspired, of course, learn a lot about what they do, their strategy as well. And we summarize everything at the end, where you have a whole chapter of summaries of what these traders have in common. So if you want to check it out, 14 traders in this book that myself and Kathy Lean interviewed. There's a lot of good wisdom in this. If you like these interviews on YouTube, I'm sure you like this one for sure. Go grab it. Like I said, it's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, it's on Audible in audio version. All the other audiobook platforms will have it too, or your favorite bookstore. So check it out. If you did read it, let me know in the comment section below which one is your favorite chapter, and we'll get back to the interview. When did you transition to trading full-time?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I've never considered myself a full-time trader. I know we do have some full-time traders in the room right now. I'm fortunate because I live on the West Coast, and I had a job. I've got an engineering degree. I've got an MBA. I worked for a very large company for over 30 years, doing business development and engineering stuff. So I never considered myself a full-time trader. I always, with being on the West Coast with the time zones the way they are, could get up at 6 o'clock. Look at the market, trade the market open 6:30, spend half an hour, 45 minutes, and then go down, have breakfast, and then off to work, and checking my stocks throughout the day. But I had a full-time job, and and that's something that I think that we kind of encourage people to do if it's possible. If you're just starting out, is not just jump into being a full-time trader. Try to work your way into it to find out if it's right for you. But again, I was never in a position where I solely depended on my trading income for paying rent, that kind of stuff.
Would you say that's a better position to be in? Do you prefer to trade that way, or would you still kind of be okay to go with like trading full time?
There's something else I didn't touch on. So one thing, I think I'd find it really unstimulating just to trade, just to sit in front of a screen, look at candles. And swing trading is a little bit more, month to month. Sometimes you make money, sometimes you don't make that much money, sometimes you might even lose money. So I find that basically, I really like the idea of having a steady income that you don't have to depend on, making that rent at the end of the month. And also, I throughout my career, I had a great job. I really enjoyed the work that I did outside of trading, and I just found I find that work more stimulating, let's just say, than trading. I love trading, don't get me wrong, but I also need more in my life than just looking at a screen and trading based on candles and stuff like that. So that's kind of why I continue to do what I do, which is I continue to do other work besides trading. It's just I just find the mental stimulation is a real positive in my life.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with that. Also, the human kind of aspect, like you don't see anyone with trading, you can isolate yourself and not talk to anyone. While when you have other stuff going on, it's easier to, I don't know, just be in touch with people, and it just makes it more interesting. Also,
Yeah, totally. I mean, some of the other things I do right now, I still do consulting. So I work with some companies. My I guess my focus at this big company ended up being waste reuse, recycling, environmental stuff, clean energy, and that's and going out and meeting people and helping them with their businesses. Just I find that very mentally stimulating, and I guess I encourage people to work outside their boundaries, and and since I retired from that company, I partnered with another guy, owned part of a coffee shop. So every day is an adventure for me, and that's the way I like it. I'm kind of, like I said, living my best life.
that's cool. That's awesome. Walk me through your trading style and what you focused on in terms of trading.
Yeah, I guess we'd have to break it down in terms of the different types of trading that I do. I guess in the morning, with day trading, it's basically just my basic strategies I look at are either opening range breakouts or opening range breakdowns. Because Andrew is and I are in the trading room right at the open. So we're looking for opening range breakouts, opening range breakdowns. And as the day goes on, kind of shift the strategies to just watching levels. I mark on my charts previous day high, previous day low, previous day close. And of course, we watch the VWAP. So VWAPs are great trading opportunities. It's you either get a rejection or you get a stall and then a push through. So that's another. I guess that's another arsenal in my trade book for trading once we've gotten past the open and that initial momentum has died off there. In terms of swing trading, I would say really my best trades really have focused around this what I call hot sector manias, and they've come and go over the years, and I've made some really good money just following hot sectors. So a couple of them would be like pot stocks were hot, and at one point, going back further, there was a real gold rush in the 80s or 90s, I believe it was. Gold was hot, gold and silver, and it's hot today again. And of course, we got the usual stuff now here. The AAI is the hot sector. So, in terms of swing trading, I look at sectors that are hot and try to invest in those. And those tend to be, excuse me, more mid cap. And I would even, yeah, I would even call some of the trades I do penny stocks. So, which have worked out very well this year, actually.
Do you have a typical holding period for these trades? Is it like a few months or a few days, or what does it look like?
Well, for hot sector manias, I mean, they can go on for months. I'm in a bunch of I got into a bunch of rare earth stock plays and still holding some, although I've basically peeled off a lot of those positions now, and I'm just holding a little bit to see if we move higher. But we're kind of stalling here now. But I've taken some pretty significant profits here already, so I'm pretty happy with those trades this year. And of course, rare earth's been a real hot topic with China controlling the supply and the U.S. government and all the other governments wanting to start to get in and develop their own properties, their own mines and processing.
How did you decide on a trade like this when it's time to get out or take some profits? Do you just take profits along the way and kind of at some point close a position, or do you have any rules for when to get out?
It's funny. It's hard to these things are yeah. What I tell people, people that trade or trade a little, and they always moan about missing the top or missing, or not, or selling too early. And I always tell them, you never feel good about buying a stock, or very rarely, or selling a stock, I should say, because you've either missed the top and it's come back down, or you sell and it keeps going up. So I just tell people, you just gotta acknowledge you're probably never going to pick a top. So my strategy for a lot of these is to take partials, because you never know when some of these are going to turn around and go the other way. So if I've doubled my money on a smaller cap stock, I'm going to take some off for sure, maybe a quarter of it off, just to put some in the bank, and then if it falls back, you haven't lost money, you stop out where you break even, and if it keeps going higher, you just 2 times, 3 times, just keep peeling little bits off. And it's kind of I guess I don't have a hard rule, but I just kind of the feel of what the market is doing, and the general, just my general feel about the sector that stock is in.
If we take a step back and we think about the part-time traders, guys who trade with, like, let's say, a full-time job, they don't have much time for trading, what's you think the right approach for them to use in trading? Do they go with like day trading or swing trading, or maybe a mix of both? What do you recommend them?
If you're wanting to be a full-time trader, I mean, it's day trading. Day trading is a little bit more tricky. I mean, day trading it's a tough business for sure. It's a mental game, right? It's how well you can control your emotions, how well you can really. It all boils down to how well you can follow your trading plan. And if you're someone who can control your emotions, control, not get carried away, because we see this a lot. We see people, in terms of day trading, we see people, having a great equity curve. We just literally had one of our members who he was just building a really nice equity curve, and then he kind of disappeared for a couple days, and finally caught up with him, and he literally had one day, basically ended up back where he started, sort of just blew up his account with one trade. So you've got to be really disciplined. If you're a really disciplined person, you can learn to day trade, and I would say that's probably a more reliable, if I want to call it that, way to day trade, or to trade for a living. Because every day you get up, if you can make $100 or $200, and you've interviewed Thor, one of our other traders. I mean, he doesn't try to make a fortune each day. He's just trying to make a couple $100 each day. Realistic goals. He's a very disciplined trader, and that's probably, if you're going to day trade, or if you're going to trade for a living, I think that's kind of the route. The challenge with swing trading is you can be in a position for months at a time, and you're not wanting to take profits, so getting that constant cash flow is not there sometimes when you're swing trading. You don't want to be selling a position that you think is continuing to go up or down, as the case may be. If it's continuing to go in your direction, you want to hold on to it, but you don't want to have your cash tied up, because maybe you've got bills at the end of the month you want to pay. So I would say, I would say day trading if you're going to be if you're thinking about being a full-time trader. But again, you have to, you really have to have the mentality to do that as well.
What about the part-time guys? Are they better with swing trading only, or should they try to day trade also?
No, I think you can swing trade, or I think you can just be a part-time trader and day trade. I mean, I did that. I did that for years. I just basically supplemented my income by trading in the morning before I went to work. And if I didn't get up, or if I didn't feel like getting up in the morning, I didn't have to, because I knew I had a paycheck at the end of the month. And that's one of the advantages of having a job and only being a part-time trader. You're not having that same pressure to make money. And again, we've talked about this. Trading is a real mental game, and introducing another sort of stressor, another element that's going to add stress to your life. If you're depending on making whatever you need to make $2,000 a month to pay bills and put groceries in the fridge, and you've got to make that money as a trader. You could be forcing yourself or taking trades that you really shouldn't be taking because you're thinking in the back of your mind, I've got to make money today. Otherwise I won't be able to pay the bills, and so relieving that sort of extra stressor from your life is, I think, is positive.
What do you think are some of the common mistakes that the students you coach are having in trading? Are they like the common same things that come up all the time, or are there some mistakes that I don't talk about that much?
I would say that the biggest mistake that people make is not honoring their stops. And again, as I mentioned, I learned that sort of the hard way. And sometimes I even make that same mistake, but you get that thing in the back of your head where you've entered a position, it's not working out, it's coming to your stop, and then you start thinking, well, maybe I'll just give it another minute or two, see if it's got to turn around here, and of course it doesn't. It goes down further, and then you think, okay, now I'm in all in. I'm gonna wait till this thing turns around, comes back, and I'm gonna just get out at break even. And then, of course, it just continues to go the direction you don't want it to go. And next thing you know, you've wiped out, a week's worth of gains, and it's just happened that fast. And you end up at some point, you capitulate, you get out, and getting out, that's usually the bottom. So I would say honoring stops is one of the most challenging ones. And the other one I continually get, and that you asked this already, is where do you take profits? And for swing trading, sometimes it's if you're just looking at swing trading, sometimes it's often quite easy to find areas where you would target to take profits. Like, for example, recently did a UNH trade when it really got sold off there. It just hung around 300. And then I was, looking at various levels on the chart. When it started holding 300, I got in with a small trade. And, I could clearly see where the levels were, where I could, where there would be probably some resistance. Like, I think one was around 350, where there was, that's sort of where the gap started on the downside. And that was certainly an area that saw some resistance. And then there was the gap fill. I'm not sure if it got the gap fill on that or not, but there's certain areas that are obviously that are obvious levels that you want to take profits at. But yeah, entries and exits are always the tricky things for new traders and traders and old traders too, like me.
I think that's why your technique of taking partials kind of help, because you don't have to pinpoint exact level to get out of the trade.
Exactly. And that just sort of takes the sting out of, I missed the top, or I didn't, or I missed the bot, or I missed the continuation. If you've got a little back, you're either you've got a profit, and it pulled back, and you got close to the top, and then you don't feel so bad. And then if it continues to go up, you still have a position, so you're not still feeling so bad either. So yeah, kind of takes the sting out of trying to get that perfect exit.
Is there anything we didn't talk about or didn't touch on that you wanna add here? Any other advice you think is applicable for traders?
No, again, I think if you're thinking about being a full-time trader, start out without being a full-time trader. Start out with a job that you can depend on an income, and if it's possible, work yourself into getting that to that position where you have enough capital that you can absorb losses when you have them, because you're going to have them as a trader, and just work on discipline. I would say the other important thing is just continue to learn, continue to have an open mind. I mean, I've been trading for who knows how many years. I don't even think about it. But I continue to learn from people in our community, and that's the great thing about being in a community, is you can always learn something new. I mean, I've been I've been trading a few SPX zero DTE options in the room once in a while, and I learned that from one of our other moderators. And yeah, so you can always teach an old dog new tricks. It's my and so you don't want to ever be stagnant. You don't want to ever just think that that you know it all. So when you start to feel confident, when you start to feel like you know it all, that's when the market's going to come up and bite you in the ass for sure.
That's a good point. Tell me where people can find you and connect with you after this podcast.
Yeah, I'm at Brian at breakouts.com. You can email me there. I've got a couple of books that I've published on Amazon. It's How to Swing Trade. It's my first book, and I just wrote a book, How to Trade Options, as well. So you can check that out there as well. I do have a YouTube video I do on the weekend, sort of a market recap, some of the stocks I'm in, and some of the stocks that I'll be looking at for the coming week. So you can check that out on YouTube as well.
Awesome. We'll put those links below. I appreciate, Brian, your advice here and the lessons you share. I think it's been good. It's been fun. Hopefully people get some value out of it and reach out to you and connect with you that way.